Welcome to Daggers and Shadow Daddies.
We're your hosts, Ryan and Adriana.
Buckle up, Buttercup. Feyre is a different character immediately in this book than she has been in the other two.
Yes.
Every part of her personality is so different. Her ability to be cunning, not just her want to be cunning, all of a sudden, she is effectively the Ocean's 11 captain.
Yeah.
But she has not been shown to be able to be this person literally until the beginning of this book. And you mix that with a narrator that is so different. It just blew my mind.
She didn't become this person until Jurian was introduced. And the parallels to Jurian, Miriam, and whoever Amaranth, Clythia, there we go. The parallels to that, she is just like Jurian. She is doing what Jurian did, even.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm just more surprised by every time somebody does something. Feyre is like, you're playing right into the palm of my hand. That was my plan the whole time.
Like with, what's her face? Ianthe?
Yeah, and I'm like, listen, you couldn't have reasoned your way out of a wet paper bag 15 chapters ago. And now you have this grand master plan that there was no planning building up to it either. She did this shit all off the fly.
Yeah, she still is. Rhysand's just kind of like, when are you coming back? She's like, soon.
Yeah, and then she's like, don't worry, I love you. I whispered it down the line. And then she's like, meanwhile, planning on burning this whole fucking court down. She even brings up, well, maybe we should get into actually what happens, because I have little pieces of things that I found really interesting for her.
You can share whatever.
Well, we'll get back into it later. I appreciate that they brought up the people who live in the court are just going to be victims to whatever it is she does to Tamlin.
To whatever she does and whatever the King of Highburn does.
Yeah, but she doesn't have control over what happens with the King of Highburn. She has control over her own actions.
No, I don't.
She's like, these people were victims like I was under the mountain. It's like, you were there for 3 months. They were there for 50 fucking years. Like, let's not equate what you guys experienced exactly here. She brings up how she was tortured under the mountain, how she had to see her love almost die, blah, blah, blah. And it's, I feel like there isn't enough appreciation for the fact of how many of those people actually watched their loved ones be tortured and killed.
It really broke my heart when Alice knew what was going on. Feyre would not admit it, wouldn't have a heart-to-heart with her, and feigned ignorance when Alice begged her not to get her boys involved in her plan.
But she can't, to be fair. The prince and princess are Damati or whatever. So if they were to sneak into Alice's mind and see anything Feyre divulge, I can understand the necessity of her being secretive still.
I don't think Feyre is protecting Ianthe's brain from the twins.
I don't think there's much there to worry about. I think Ianthe's just her own person. She's like, this bitch is an open book anyway. Read away, guys. Carrion is where?
Oh.
What is Carrion?
I don't know what Carrion is. They started chapter 1 with Princess of Carrion, and that's what the Book of Breathings called her also.
So she's not checking anything.
No.
Come on, we can make a little luggage joke here. The Princess of Carrion. That's what I would call you when we went to Mexico last year. The Princess of Carrion. Because you're just stuffing things in my bag.
I want to start in the intro where it's Rhysand talking, and it's 2 years before the wall was made. And it's him walking the grounds of all the dead bodies of Fae and humans. And he's, I think, looking for Illyrians to be able to bury them. I don't know what he's doing exactly. He's definitely looking for Cassian and Azriel to see if they were there and made it. But it gave us a little more insight to there are the Loyalists, which are all the Fae who are against the humans, and then the mortal army with some Fae. And in this intro, he says the Loyalist army retreated.
Okay, I also want to bring up one thing. He was not concerned about Azriel being there.
Oh.
He said his dad would keep Azriel close because Azriel was such a good utility, basically, to have near him. And Cassian, however, he harbored no positive feelings for. He also brings up tons of these people were wearing siphons. which I found interesting.
They're all Illyrians.
Yeah, but I thought the siphons were more rare. I thought that the siphons were specifically on Cassian and Azriel because they especially needed to be able to control their power more specifically.
The Illyrians normally will have one, I believe, or none. It's somewhere like that. I'm going to just go with, they normally just have one. What makes Azriel and Cassian insane is that they have like 7.
Yeah, I guess I'm just surprised that resource-wise that you would have that many siphons. I don't know what kind of magic stone they are, but I assume they were more rare or hard to find, just because we haven't heard of any other Illyrians wearing siphons in the Illyrian training camp.
They all had one.
Did they?
Yeah, they all have one.
I fucked this up then.
This all comes from like this random little conversation that Rhysand has about how incredible Cassian and Azriel are, that they were excluded, but no, I don't really know how it happened. I just knew that he said that it was normal for the biggest and baddest Illyrians to have one, but Cassian and Azriel had like 7.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, I think I just missed it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
That was the intro with Rhysand there. He just kind of talked about his experience and...
So his dad wasn't dead yet?
No. This is before his mom and sister were probably killed too. This is before Amarantha kidnapped him and held him there.
Well, so I figured this would be before Amarantha showed up, really. But what I find interesting is that means all the shit between Tamlin and Rhys and all that shit happens. I guess the timeline is different than I expected it to be. I thought Tamlin's dad and Rhys's dad there was infighting kind of during the big war, if that makes sense. And it must have been after that was primarily resolved, because the wall went up as a result of the treaty.
Yes. My understanding of events is that there is a war between the Loyalist army and the Mortal army with some Fae, which are the Illyrians, with Rhysand. I'm not completely sure if Rhysand's dad is involved in this, or if it's just, yeah, if you guys want to go fight, you go do that, but I'm not sending you. Then the wall and treaty get put up. Then, so Amarantha, after the treaty, that Amarantha invites everyone to dinner to show how changed she is. To show, yeah. So when does Amarantha steal Rhysand? I think she must steal Rhysand before the wall goes up.
Well, so that's what I thought. Other than Rhys's dad clearly still hasn't been killed. He's not High Lord yet before the wall goes up.
That I knew, because he doesn't become a High Lord until they go after Tamlin's family. But I don't know if, and that's all before Amarantha invites them to dinner, obviously.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Timelines get so wonky.
I don't know when each thing happens. But either way, chapter 1 starts with Princess of Carrion. She's painting, showing how innocent she is.
She's flying spirit, not one to pay an extra $1. She's the Princess of Carrion. Okay.
How can this is like your 4th carry-on joke?
It's the same joke. I'm just rewording it. I don't have a lot of jokes for that. Now, we can agree on the irony of her being the Princess of Carrion, but yet she's mostly carried around in a Bjorn. She's sort of a carry-on of Fae. That's why.
Why would?
Makes sense. Rhys calls her the Princess of Carrion because he just loads her up in the Bjorn.
I don't know why I asked for further explanation.
Yeah, well, I don't know why I attempted to give one. I didn't have one. Go ahead.
It was around this time that she talks about shadows hiding herself, and I was like, what is going on? What does she mean, these shadows? Is she has to like try to put Tamlin at bay? And you're like, Tamlin's horny. I'm like, oh.
She just like every so often just pushes him away lightly with a shadow, just like, no, put your penis away.
I didn't know if she was trying to hide herself.
Like what's that dark spot walking through the mansion? She got me.
It kind of falls back into when Feyre thought she was sneaking out.
And all the Fae could see her. She just couldn't see them. Yeah. That does make sense. She's like, well, this whole place operates with 3 people here. This is crazy. I'm not going to lie. That was my favorite revelation of this book.
Was what?
Not this book, I guess, the last book. Maybe the book before. Where there were Just Faye fucking everywhere, and you really think about what she was doing beforehand, and she just couldn't see him. You're like, how many times do you think she's like, I really gotta pee? Well, nobody's around. She's gonna go in this bush, and there's some poor guy over there just trimming the hedges. Like, well, I don't want to tell her I'm here, but also, I wish she'd quit pissing on my roses. I don't know.
I'm continuing on. What are snares? I thought snares are like traps.
Yeah.
But then she's like...
Also a drum.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Stop it. She has invisible dark snares to alert her. She uses these multiple times.
Think of it like a tripwire. A snare is usually something you'd be caught up in, but it's generally a wire or a rope.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't fully understand how she's alerted them, but that doesn't matter.
So think of it this way. If she has this little shadow string, right?
Yep.
And somebody steps through it.
Oh, and especially if it's from her shadows.
Correct.
I'm just going to go with that every time.
I think that's what it is.
Okay. Yeah, it's just invisible dark snares to alert her. Lucian.
Because he's so slippery.
Lucian verbalizes his mating bond in this early and how attached he is to her, to Elaine. I was getting from this is telling us how attached to Feyre rhysand was very early on. Seeing how Lucian is reacting to Elaine being gone and not knowing where she's at. Is she okay? How to get her, constantly thinking about her and acknowledging his mating bond with it, I think tells me more about really what rhysand was going through.
My favorite part is when it's brought up that he had sex with Ianthe, because Tamlin's like, I actually don't feel like it.
With Ianthe.
Or yeah, what did I say?
Amaranth. Their names are similar, but yet not similar.
And then we have Amrand. I don't like that she couldn't come up with really distinct names. I assume there's some naming convention she's using, so it makes sense if you know that, but it doesn't to me. Anyway, he's like, I didn't want to have sex with Ianthe, but I had to because Tamlin said he wouldn't. And for some reason, like, the second in command is totally fine. Like, for whatever magic they have going on. Like, if Tamlin's like, I actually don't want to. And Lucian's like, fine, I guess I'll fuck her for the good of the whole country. This could have happened last year. That means that Tamlin still chose to do it last year. And it didn't have to be Ianthe. It's so funny to me. Tamlin's like, no, not this time. My heart's broken. But then he brings up, he's like, please don't tell Elaine. Like, Elaine at this moment would give a shit.
She's like, that was before us.
Yeah, and also, this is your second mate, which I also found interesting.
Yeah.
This person was killed. That means they're replaceable.
Oh.
Isn't that kind of what you got from it?
I don't know what I got from it. I do hope that they explain this. I would have not realized this until it was literally written and thrown in my face that this was his second bond if it wasn't for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was like, that's like I only know 3 things about Lucian. I know Lucian has red hair. I know his brothers tried to murder him so he couldn't become High Lord of the Autumn Court.
Mm-hmm.
And his dad murdered his mate the first time. Now,
that's pretty much just Lucian lore right there.
Lucian lore.
Stop.
I'm not done yet. Because, don't worry, he gets slippery later on. He and Feyre rubbing up on each other.
We're not there yet.
Oh, we're going to get to it.
Yes. After he talks about that, I just want to point out, it really showed me how much rhysand was struggling when she was with Tamlin. Or when she was under the mountain. When she was just having...
Yeah, he was struggling so hard. That's why he used his magic to make him extra sexy for Amarantha. He's like, I'm so distraught right now. Let me use extra cum magic to really get you where you need to go. That will never not throw me off. He's like, I made her fucking beg for it. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you just have a fetish. Like, I don't think you were doing this to her because she still got it. Like, I don't know. If you wanted to torture me that way, you're like, yeah, I fucking hate fucking you. I'm going to make it so good that you're going to it's all you're going to think about. And then, you know what? I'm going to do it some more. That'll show you. If you want to do that to me, please. It's fun. If you get to the point where you're like, I fucking hate this guy, you better take the rhysand path. Because I love Rhysand. I think he's an excellent Shadow Papa. However, there's some spots in this story where I'm like, I don't think that's how that works at all. I could be totally wrong, but sorry, you were having a moment where you were expressing his hardship. Please continue.
I just need to take a moment.
Poor Rhysand.
Poor Rhysand.
Having to fuck ladies when he couldn't fuck the human one. Because for the majority of the time that he's had this bond, she was a literal human child.
Stop. They're all adults.
They are now.
Feyre will think of memories to mask her smell or mask what she's feeling. Like whenever she's thinking about Rhysand, or if someone asks her a question, she will think of other memories to try to manipulate how, I think, her smell. I'm guessing emotions are just stinky.
Well, I think it's the mating bond gives off a specific aura, and that's kind of what they're smelling.
Well, in this one, they were talking about Rhysand, and so she started thinking about the worm and being under the mountain, all these terrible things, everything to give off fear.
Yeah.
When they talk about Rhysand, so she thinks about things that genuinely scared her.
Again, a brilliant move if you know how all of this works. It has nothing to do with how Feyre has ever been able to formulate a plan before this. She is so thorough now. I like new Feyre more of an old Feyre for sure. But did it give you a little whiplash?
No.
Really?
No.
Wouldn't it be weird if like one of our children, we just wake up one day and they're a fucking rocket surgeon? Like,
it is not that dramatic.
It kind of is. Think of her fuck ups. Don't put the two halves of the book together. Feyre's like, I think I'm going to put these two halves of the book together. Okay, cool. What happens 10 minutes later? She's like, don't worry, I have this very deep plan that goes all the way to how I smell. She's farting to cover up love. Like, she's got all kinds of stuff going on. And yet, this has never been her thing. Her best laid plans have been fighting a worm so far.
Speaking of plans, what's Ianthe's plan? What's she have going? What does she have going?
No, I like how you had it before. Ianthe, what's that mouth do? Lay it on me, girl.
What's Ianthe's plan?
Well, she wanted people to think she was special and chosen by the Cauldron, right? Primarily the princess and prince who came.
Feyre constantly has pointed out that she has never shown any power.
Remember, they only get their power from people believing in them. They're like Santa.
Oh. Do you think that the light would have filled her similar to... Stop it. Do you think the light would have filled her similar to Feyre?
Differently. Yeah. I don't know how the light's filling Feyre. But I know Ianthe wants on that lightsaber.
I just didn't think it was going to happen with Ianthe either.
The light didn't really fill Feyre.
No, I know. She cheated.
Yeah, which I think, again, what a brilliant move. She's like, I had the wind to blow this rock. Which, oh my God, hold on. I'm going to get to your question first, then remind me of the wind and the rock.
Okay.
I don't think the sun has anything to do, or the light even has anything to do with Ianthe and getting power. I think other people believing it does gives her power. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it just confuses me that she has shown no power. Yes, she has power. She is forcing men to sleep with her, and it's really sad.
They don't seem to be objecting greatly outside.
They are.
Lucian's the only one that's been like, no, thank you. Because she even mentioned, she's like, this woman who's so beautiful, men want to be with her, women want to be her.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
like, no, I don't think.
We're introduced to Ianthe.
Well, and even in these chapters, we're reintroduced. She brings up how she makes these grand entrances and how wild it is that the prince and princess could give a shit less about this truly incredibly beautiful woman. They don't take notice of her. Jurian doesn't take notice of her. And she brings up how wild that is, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
You remember that?
I do. I just don't know what to think of Ianthe yet.
Well, all I'm saying is I don't think she's exactly having to entrap people to have sex with her outside of Lucian. I don't think
she's trying to trap Rhysand.
Yeah. Boobedly, I remember her nips peeked and stared at him in the eyes. And I looked at them, and they looked at me. You remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it is. But he was an ass man back then, and now he loves them. So, I don't know, he's a changed man. Rhysand, you're a complicated individual, and I'm excited to have you back in our story. For now, we have Ianthe, who's forcing these poor, sad Fey boys.
She is.
No, she's not. Most all of them are doing it quite willingly. Nobody, other than Lucian, has been like, I didn't want to. And even Lucian, he's like, my mind keeps telling me no, but my body keeps telling me yes. That's what happened. I'm excited for the breakdown of music that coincides with this show.
Yes.
There's so
go
much.
Go through every single one of your songs.
I'm at like 42 songs right now, and there's easily going to be 100.
There we go. We have 42 days of content.
No, Adri, we can't do one song a day. We're going to group it by which songs apply to which things.
Okay.
Because sometimes it's like 4 songs could apply to this.
Okay.
And then our favorite breakdown. Ooh, Dreamweaver.
That one will not make any sense to anyone.
If they've been in any part of this so far, they'll get it. Gary Wright, the Dreamweaver.
Pushing you along.
The rock, the way it gets pushed by wind. There's a stone with runes carved in it. And she put a light breeze out there that blew a stone that was setting on the ground.
Oh, yes, I remember this. That's what you wanted to talk about next.
Uh-huh. So if I put let's say a small stone, right, lightweight one, grab a little piece of slate and put it in our driveway, how hard do you think the wind has to blow to scooch that thing 5 feet?
It's a very concentrated section
of wind. Just a small jet stream just ripping the fucking grass out for 5 feet. Should put a tiny tornado there. Just to scooch it so as nobody would notice. I think it was such a cool play.
I pictured a little pebble. Like a small, like in the palm of your hand pebble thing.
Yeah, and I think that's completely fair. I'm just saying if I put a small pebble in the driveway, not even where there's grass around it, because grass also isn't just laying flat. You have to overcome grass to scooch a stone.
You are so pedantic.
Okay, hold on. Do you not think that she could have said, I allowed my shadows to creep over and scooch that bad boy a few feet? Would that not have been slightly more believable than a breeze?
It was believable in the moment.
Oh,
now it's not.
Sorry. My bad. I am not going to lie. I laughed hysterically when she was just like...
A light breeze.
I used my wind to move the scooch the stone over 5 feet from where it was. I'm like, first of all, what?
The wind power just kind of exists differently because she will also use it as a shield in the room to block out sound.
I think calling it wind power is part of the problem.
Maybe.
I think she's an airbender.
Yeah, manipulating air somehow.
She's the avatar.
Yes.
She's mastered fire, water, earth. Oh, wait, maybe she doesn't have earth power.
Ooh. We haven't seen all of the powers.
That's true. And some of them that we have seen, it's a little unbelievable. Like wind blowing a rock 5 feet that nobody notices. But also causes nobody even to look in that direction. I'm just imagining if you have this field and you just have this one little strip of wind just whipping through that fucker, and nobody's like, oh my God, what's happening over there? But it certainly couldn't be magic. There's no such thing as magic here in this world.
Ianthe and Tamlin saw highburn as inevitable. Is that the reason for their alliance? They saw this is going to happen no matter what. We might as well align with them.
I think Tamlin was convinced by Ianthe that was the case. I think Ianthe is still just searching for more power. She wants power dick. She needs it. Who's got the most powerful dong?
Rhysand.
The king of highburn.
Wow.
He shut down Rhysand like Rhysand wasn't even there.
Okay.
Like,
wait.
Rhysand's he's a powerful high lord, but he's not a king.
The king is powerful, but it seems like his spell book is the majority of his power, his ability to use that.
Yeah, and so masterfully, I might add that everybody who deals with him is like, oh, we can't fuck around and find out with this guy. But the 2 people who are at the spring court are his children, right?
Yeah, no, his niece and nephew.
How are they the prince and princess? I don't understand how this works.
Maybe he killed their parents.
Okay.
Sounds like something he would do.
Okay. No, that's fair. It eliminates something for me because I was just like, who's their mom? Like if he's the dad, but also if he doesn't have any natural born children, I don't understand how royalty works.
We don't need to.
Okay.
Chapter 2, Jurian is a madman. Are cauldron-born Fae more powerful? The king seemed kind of unbothered by allowing humans to use it to become Fae. Like, he wasn't threatened by them and their power that they would gain from being born directly from the cauldron.
I think what it comes down to is the cauldron's going to give them this much power. 20 cc's of power for you. That's what you're going to get. And only our Billy Badass girl, Nesta, was like, I'm taking it all, big boy. Send it here. And then she took so much power from that cauldron, it needed a refractory period. Like, can we just take a moment and just really enjoy that?
Yeah, because it no longer works right now.
Yeah, it's still sucked dry.
Well, we don't know if the queens went in.
Yeah, but after Nesta.
But what I'm saying is the cauldron, after everybody left, the queens were still there. The queens could have used it, and that could have been when. Do you think the queens are now Fae?
I think the queens are probably dead.
Oh.
That's my hope. I hope somebody killed them off. Probably not the old one, because Feyre's got to murder that one to satisfy the story.
Oh, the old queen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Nesta. Nesta could murder her too.
I got a little confused again about their mating bond. I thought they could talk to each other because they are Damati, not because of their mating bond.
I think there's a distance issue with the Damati thing. I think there's proximity with that. I think the mating bond is kind of this, well, now I just keep thinking of string theory.
Yeah, because she talks about, she shoots it down the bond, this thread. I just was surprised to learn that if it's the mating bond is how they're talking, that would mean others can talk that way between each other.
Yes, and that doesn't work for you.
No, I'm just a little surprised that you could meet your mate and be married to somebody else, but yet they would still have that connection and talking to each other.
But I don't think marriage is a thing.
It kind of is. Like, there are other scenarios, I don't even know what they were, where they talked about how...
The big one being Tamlin and Feyre in their wedding.
Yeah, that's the big one, but Tamlin talked about his parents and how they're mated, but they really weren't that good for each other. And other scenarios of these two are together, but they're not mated. Imagine that you then were mated. Or even, let's say, Lucian's dad, right, wanted him to marry someone of more nobility, even though his mate existed. His dad, I didn't think, killed his mate because that was his mate, but because Lucian wasn't going to marry someone more noble. He was going to marry his mate, and so then his dad killed the mate. But then I'm just picturing the idea of if you got married and you have just a mate out there and you're just like mind vibing all the time, the person that you really want to be with or who your body wants destined to be with. Yeah. I just thought they could talk to each other because of the mind reading skills.
No, see, I like where you're at with this because I hadn't considered that either.
Until we hear about another mated couple also mind vibing, I'm going to go with it's the Damati.
Okay.
Just to be stubborn.
Well, what I like is the idea that their hearts are cans and there's a string between them.
Yes.
And they're just whispering in that little can.
And get really stinky whenever they talk to each other.
Again, I love that you're viewing this as straight up just smell emitting.
Yes, that's kind of what she's doing.
You're right. I think you could be right. I saw it more as like an aura thing.
Yeah.
They're like, they smell it on me. It's kind of like when people are like, I can smell the fear. And really, you're just smelling sweat. And maybe poo if they were scared enough.
I also liked how she yells down the bond. It's like short little sentences.
Okay, yeah. And what's the purpose behind that?
I don't know.
Like, what would be the use case of just yelling short things down this bond? It's not like it would be harder for somebody else to pick up a loud, short sound.
She said that it's like talking underwater. I think if I was trying to communicate with you, I would want to use the most important words so you caught the most important things, because it'll be really difficult to hear.
Just poetry for Neanderthals our way through love.
Yes, that's what it sounded like, that game.
Okay, I like it. I like where your head's at. I just felt like it could have been longer and still not had a lot for repercussions, but...
I have no clue. She doesn't even know. She's just doing it to be cautious.
That's true.
So Jurian and the twins arrived. Creepy twins share a bedroom.
Yeah.
I think it was slightly implied that they might be bonded.
Mating bond?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I think it was just like the Game of Thrones twins. Or their siblings. I don't remember if they were twins. But also, that was not uncommon back then either. Like, my sister's kind of cute. And then you're like, well, I guess I'll fuck her. Cause...
Twins are just creepy. We find out.
Twins in general. If you're a twin, you're a fucking weirdo.
No! Just these two. We learn that they're Damati. What are the meanings of the holes in the wall? Because then they go to the first hole in the wall. It's very small. And they seem very intrigued, but what do you think all that means? Why are there holes in the wall?
I think the first one is a glory hole.
Stop. I'm asking you a question.
I'm giving you an answer.
Fine, we're moving on.
No, hold on. Fine, I'll behave. So they go to the glory hole and that's not it, right? They're like, oh, thank you for showing us this. And Feyre's like, you could try it. And they're like, no, we're fine. You don't know if something's going to bite on the other side. Anyway, point is, they camp so they can get to the second hole the next day.
No. They just go back. They were like, it's 2 days. It's like 2 days to get there. They end up just going back, I believe.
No, because the second one, they find the people, the girls who worship Ianthe.
You're right.
Yeah.
I thought they went back, and that's when we dealt with all the stuff with Tamlin, and they're like, are you going to go back? No, that was the first time.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it all sorted now. Chapter 2 is when Jurian and the twins arrive, and they talk about, can you take us to the walls? Chapter 3, they go check the first hole. They weren't satisfied with it. Chapter 4 is the summer solstice. Chapter 5 is where she sets up Lucian. Chapter 6 is where they go back to the wall. The second one that was a little farther away. And chapter 7 is where they killed the children.
Oh, shit. I think I missed that in chapter 7. Okay, so we'll get to chapter 7.
But back to chapter 2, I asked about the meaning of the holes in the wall. Why are they there? You didn't really have any answers, so I'm just going to the next thing. They're talking at the table, and we learn that Lucian's eye was made by someone in the Dawn Court. I don't know the meaning of that, but I think that's important for later. And it does something. Feyre never once asked if it does anything until this section, until this book. And he won't say.
Hold on. Is the Dawn Court different than the day? Is there a day court too?
Yes.
So it's dawn, day, and night?
Yes.
Okay. We've done this like 70 times. Yep. I just forget every time.
We also learned Jurian fought with rhysand. And I don't understand why he's...
Alongside rhysand.
Yes. Because he was human then, and that makes sense. It also now makes sense that he knows Feyre's full of shit. He's like, dude, I know rhysand way better than you're giving me credit for.
He's like, I know rhysand way better than you.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I was with him for 50 years under the mountain, and before that, we did battle together. He's like, I saw this guy shed blood.
Yeah. So he knows rhysand well enough to know that Feyre's full of shit, that none of the things she's saying is true about rhysand. That is pretty much the end of chapter 2. I don't fully understand the motive of Jurian working with highburn other than it got him out of being a ring.
Yeah, I think it provided him an escape from just being this soul trapped. But also, let's not forget that he spent 50 years as a ring and went insane.
Yeah.
I think that, coupled with the fact of you heard that your girlfriend or whatever is dead, right? This whole time. The king says, not to worry, I can bring her back.
And it's sad because I don't even think she's going to want to be with him, even when she sees him. And he's just going to go even more insane.
Well, yeah, she's definitely not going to be with him when she sees him. She already picked Dragon over him already.
Yeah. Chapter 3, they go and check the first hole. Day court power is...
Can we come up with another name for him?
That's the only answer. What else? A gap? A wall gap?
Oh, I don't know if gap's a lot better.
I don't know another word for it. No, you don't get to decide.
Oh.
Day court power is a curse-breaking ability. We learned this, or at least I learned this, where she just talks more about it. The queens have a weaker grasp of their people than Tamlin does of his, or like that. That was something the twins said, which I found really interesting. And I didn't know what it meant, but I think that's important later.
The important thing to me was how it was said. They have an even weaker grasp. Meaning, compared to the citizens of Highburn, these fucking High Lords also have no control over their people.
Yeah. Lucian says that he would have fought against the Loyalists. And I think this is where she's trying to figure out Lucian of, then why are you putting up with this? What are you're aware of what's going on, right? That you are going against the humans, taking down their wall by staying here with Tamlin.
He also, though, brings it up. Not necessarily brings it up. He kind of slips, but there is a plan that Feyre is unaware of also. I think there's kind of a pseudo double agent thing going on here with even Tamlin involved. I think Tamlin's going to fuck it up.
No, I think it was also here that he said that because she was asking, like, can the bargain be destroyed? And he said, no, not without consequences. If Tamlin breaks the bargain, it could kill Tamlin, which then falls back into the bargain that...
Or just take his magic is the other thing.
Oh, well, how does it work that the King of Highburn broke Feyre and rhysand's bond? Not their bond, their bargain, and didn't have consequences? Or if he does have consequences, what were they?
So what he says for the consequences are you could lose your magic, your life, or something important to you. It will give, there is a cost associated, right? Is the way he brings this up. We don't know that the King of Highburn didn't lose something important to him.
Yeah.
But it is in direct correspondence to whatever it is you're breaking. Because magic likes balance.
How can the King of Highburn break their bargain when it was her going once a month there? She could still just do that. She
could, but she's not magically bound to do so.
Okay.
Which begs the question, how the fuck did she go 3 months without doing it before?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't.
Other than rhysand just didn't call it in?
Yeah.
Like he has to collect on the bargain, maybe?
It makes no sense to me.
There are so many things with the bargain, though. I also want to talk about that for just a second. So he brings up that the King of Highburn was very deliberate with his bargain. Like the verbiage was very important. So I think that kind of points to an area where Ianthe wasn't so good at that in general.
No, clearly, because Feyre broke it.
Well, and she kind of kept making deals. Are Fae all gambling addicts because they're so old?
That makes sense.
Like when you go to a casino, you see a bunch of old people. Like there's some young people. I'm not saying if you gamble, you're old, but I'm saying old people eventually, there's just so much time on this earth, they need some shit to really stir the pot.
That's what I got from Ianthe. She's just bored. She's like, what else is there to do but make deals with these little peasants?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like the King of Highburn is doing the same thing. He's like, well, conquest is fun, but also I love to gamble.
Why is it so important for that wall to be down?
They're already going through it and doing things.
Like, why is it so important other than to have the humans as slaves?
I would say as it goes right now, if your quest is continental domination, right, you can't get that many people through the holes in the wall. You can get enough there to really raise some hell, but not enough to win a war. If they're going through this whole single file, all it takes is somebody with some ash blades on the other side of a hole just stabbing them as they come through. The hole's plugged pretty quick with bodies.
Yeah. Then we learn that Lucian keeps the melted ring a secret from Tamlin.
Yeah, that was a smart play on Lucian's part.
It was, and it shows how much Lucian is aware that she left on her own.
Lucian cares about Feyre. I think that's also an important distinction here.
He even says that you're a better friend to me than I am to you.
Yeah, but that's all through action, not through his feelings. I would say he considers her often, but there's kind of a duality with this where he can be aware of how this is going to negatively impact Feyre, but his sworn duty is to his High Lord.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a mating bond with Feyre. He just wants her to be. I think he has a desire for her to be fulfilled. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. We end chapter 3 with Alice talking to Feyre about her thoughts on what's going on.
Alice is awesome.
She is.
She's an old cat lady.
Why?
Isn't she? She's like a cat person.
Maybe.
I think she was kind of described that way. She has feline features and she's very slight and wrinkled. She's got leathery skin.
What? I don't remember any of that. I wasn't really listening to any of that.
I think Feyre describes her as like, she didn't get eternal life until she was already quite old from the sounds of it. Or she's been around since Christ was a corporal.
What's really nice is you have always loved Alice from the very beginning, and I was so skeptical of her. I went back and re-listened to one of her old episodes to re-edit, and I was just so hard on her. I'm like, she's up to something. I think I was taking the amount of reading between the lines that you can do with Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, and tried applying it to this book, and you can't.
Well, you could. You're just going to be disappointed. Because
I was.
There were times in the other books where Feyre would be doing some shit, and I'm like, oh, she's not actually dipshit. This is going to be a bigger thing. No, it was usually Feyre being a dipshit, and other people had this big overarching thing. Now Feyre is our overarching, puppet master.
Yeah, she's leveled up a little bit here.
Again, I hate to keep bringing this up, but I am so thrown through a loop because of it.
Oh, the new Feyre?
Yes, she's a whole different character. The voice helps with that transition, though.
Chapter 4 is the summer solstice. This was the fire festival number 2 from the...
It's technically the third fire festival we've been a part of, but it's technically the same event as the second fire festival.
Yes.
Second annual fire festival 2.
In Thrones and Roses, this is the one where she was slamming down fairy drinks. Then she went and found Tamlin playing the fiddle.
Charlie Daniels his way right into her heart.
Yeah, so that was this one. And this is where I have the note. Feyre is doing to Tamlin what Jurian did to Amarantha's sister, Clythia. And Ianthe has shown no power, and Feyre took the show. That was this one.
Yeah, she's really using these day court powers that she had never informed us of before highburn.
No, she did. She, after she came a few times in the House of Mist.
Oh, you're right.
She glowed.
Oh, okay. That's a fair point. Which you would think would be the opposite of what would be good for Rhysand, the shadow guy.
He says we're going to have to find a way to put a damper on that just so that people don't see your emotions. And then she proceeds to use it several times, but never for emotional happiness. It is for using its curse-breaking ability.
Yeah, again, how did she know? It has curse-breaking ability.
Well, when she first just tried, I think she intended of just glowing likely at highburn, and then it broke down the ward. She's like, oh, awesome. And then here, she just was using it for its glowing power. Because people don't... But that's another thing. Why wouldn't Tamlin know what the glowing power of the Day Court High Lord looks like?
Hey, guess what? You have this magic curse-breaking ability. If the Day Court had this, right, why were they trapped under the mountain? Due to a curse.
They drank the potion and it was limited.
All right. Good job.
You're welcome.
Thanks. I needed that.
I also had the note of Morse code-like messages to Rhysand. That's where we were going on a hike, and she's just shouting down the bond, like the game. What's the Neanderthal game?
Poetry for Neanderthal.
Yeah, she's yelling down the bond like that.
Feyre, happy. Feyre, win against Jurian. Feyre, very bright. Feyre, fire festival. Nope, festival, so many syllables. I wasn't even doing that good before it, but then I had to throw that in there. That's stupid.
That's why I'm great at that game.
I know. Do it. You do one real. You're amazing. You could live your entire life one syllable at a time.
Feyre, love Rhys. Feyre, be home soon.
Okay. Tell me about her plans. Come on, Feyre.
Chapter 5 is Tamlin wanting Feyre. Oh, no.
Yeah, fuck chapter 4. Who needs that chapter?
We just talked about it.
What?
That's the summer solstice.
Yeah, we didn't really go through it, did we?
What else is there to share? She stole the show. She moved the rock.
She stole sunlight, and then we're going to give old Lucian some credit here.
Don't start calling him that.
Okay, fine. He immediately knew what to do. She was glowing. He just knelt down and put her fingers to his head like, bless me.
And this is part of her grand scheme for chapter 5 where she sets up Lucian.
Yeah. That's why I thought that was an important note to touch on in 4.
She was, when re-listening, she sets him up this entire time for this.
Oh, and she set up Tamlin. She was being a little shy, a little flirty, giving him these little things to make him horned up. He's like, I'm going to get some Feyre tonight. And then go ahead with chapter 5.
But we got to see her really use her power in a very manipulative way. Because she used the shadow power for the snares. She used the wind to block out the sound. She used all kinds of things. I guess I don't remember.
She feigned a nightmare.
Yes.
And did it quite well. Yes. Shrieks. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. And then she thought of scary things that happened to her to have the
smell.
The smell of fear.
Think of a smell, D.
Yes. But yeah, just set him up. And then it was even more conniving in chapter 6, where she's like, why would you come, Tamlin, essentially, with us? Do you not trust us? Like, ugh, it was just a dream.
Okay, hold on. She puts on her sexiest nightgown.
Yeah,
right?
She did.
She's like one that barely covers the nips and the bits.
Lucian is so mated with Elaine. He's just clueless to it. He's just like, oh my God, like, are you okay?
Lucian was always this way. He got in trouble in the other book, in the first book, because he was just trying to be nice to Feyre, and Feyre was flirting with him a bit. I will give him that even in those books where he was just being good to her, and she was like looking for somebody to be good to her, and at that point Tamlin was too stupid to be nice and horny. He could only do one or the other. So now Lucian's like, oh my God, let me help you. He didn't have time to put a shirt on. He barely got pants on before she came barging in the room. She leaves the door open. Then she's just crawling all up on him. First of all, if somebody is terrified and they're not you, the very last fucking thing I'm doing is holding them intimately.
Oh, you poor sweet thing. Yeah, you would be stabbing.
And she's just crawling up him like a tree. She's like, his sexy red hair. Oh, God. She's like, I can smell him. We're looking into each other's eyes all sensuously. It was fucking weird. Because even as I was listening to it, I'm like, oh, they're going to fuck. And then she's like, but I left the door open so Tamlin could see. And Tamlin's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, what if Lucian and Elaine can mind vibe and talk to each other, and she ends up figuring out what Feyre just did? Like, Lucian's like, please don't tell Elaine. It's like, we shouldn't tell Elaine what Feyre just did.
Hold on. He hasn't even started a relationship with this woman yet, and he has two things already. Please don't tell Elaine.
But then in chapter 6, this is just a small little sentence, but it stood out to me. The estate gate keys are missing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who did it. It was just a quick thing, and they kind of just gloss over it, and Tamlin just kind of moved on also.
Well, who needs keys so far? We haven't heard of anybody using them.
That's a good point. Why not just have wards up? Why are there keys to places?
I don't understand. I don't get it.
And Ianthe starts talking about...
She's got the keys.
She might.
I think that's who's got the keys. Go ahead.
She's talking about the plants are dying. There's signs of the Naga. Do you remember what the Naga was?
Okay, no, but I think it was such a bold move to make that the name of the beast. Because if it's pronounced wrong and you just happen to kind of hear it passively, it sounds awful.
Okay, the Naga is the thing after she trapped the Suriel, she ran away, and it was these like snake people things, snake phase that went after her.
There were 3 of them. I remember this.
Yeah, so there's signs of that, and Feyre just makes her sound like she's crazy, you're ridiculous, all these things, but I kind of believe Ianthe that there are signs of that.
Oh, disagree. I think there may be signs of it, but it's planted there so that she could be a person to find a solution to necessitate people, well, not necessitate necessarily help, but to make the prince and princess be like, oh, she is important here.
Oh, right, because she's a little threatened by their lack of care about her.
Because she's not important there, I think.
Yeah. We also learned that Tamlin burned the wings.
Yeah, and he seems to have regretted that.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure if it's regret for having them initially, or if it's regret for the fact of now I can't use them as leverage.
Yeah, I don't think it was as leverage. I think he cared for the fact that it happened. Then they go back to the wall without Tamlin, and they shared a tent. I'm pretty sure that I just smacked you when that happened. I'm like, oh my God, did you hear this? And I was like, wait. And then you're like, what's going on? I'm like, we need to go back. You need to hear this.
Well, and she's like, we have to cuddle for body heat.
Gotta stay
like,
warm.
I'm like, bitch, you accidentally light things on fire all the time. I don't think heat is the issue here. But I think she's definitely setting it up to where they will then report. I think she's using Jurian's want to get under Tamlin's skin and stir the pot.
Yeah.
Against Tamlin.
Yeah, because when Jurian saw them, she was kind of like, oh no, you saw us.
As she's trying to put her shirt on.
But did no one count the tents that they packed?
No, there's no such thing. You don't need them. And I like that when they're winnowing, they're only doing it a couple miles at a time because the prince is actually really bad at it.
Yeah, he's carrying a couple of them.
Yeah, but I mean, look at what rhysand and them can do.
Yeah.
You would think the prince of highburn would have a little more, I don't know.
It'd be a great reason to bring tamlin. If tamlin can winnow several people far distances, it'd be a good reason to bring him.
Well, here's my thing. The fucking queens can winnow several people far distances. How's the prince of highburn not good at this?
It's a great point. I don't know.
Like, I was just like, wait, the queens each brought 2 sentries with them, which is the same amount of people he's moving.
Maybe, given they're twins, they have power split in half.
Oh, what a shitty deal.
Yeah.
Like, neither of you are a whole person. What a bummer.
And this is also at the end of chapter 6, the girl twin says the autumn men are fire in bed.
Yeah, which led me to so many STD jokes initially. And I was like, oh, I should avoid that. Yeah, she's like, it'll burn when you pee. Like, you know what I mean? My first thought was penicillin will help, but what do I know? And that's where I realized, oh, that wasn't for me.
And then she like looks at Lucian and just thinks about it for a minute. And she's like, anyways.
Yeah, she's like, you got that fire stick. No.
No, I'm not giving you that. No, you don't get that one.
All right.
Chapter 7. I'm so sad you didn't hear it, but I think you probably don't want to hear chapter 7. Chapter 7, they get to, I think, the 3rd space in the wall. Is that better?
I like what you're doing here.
They get to the next space in the wall, and there's children of the blessed trying to enter, and they're very young. They're like 16, 17 years old.
Roughly Feyre's age.
Yeah, she says that.
Yeah.
When she was first coming over. She asks them, what are you guys doing? And they're trying to find a better life and all these things. She goes into their minds, and she realizes how easy it was, and it reminded me of what rhysand said about when he did it to Feyre back in Thorns and Roses. She finds that one is incredibly poor, one is wealthy. I don't remember what the third one was. Clearly not
horny.
Yes. And she just fills their minds with fear and scary things that are bad. And the twins in this moment were trying to entice the children to come through. They're like, no, it is great. Come on over. And Feyre is just like, no. And they're just like, come this, right? They end that moment. Feyre threatens the twins that if you do anything to harm them, I will destroy you, essentially. So Feyre sends the children these mind vibes of bad things that have happened to Feyre, while over here on this side of the wall, they run away. Then they set up camp for their next night. So maybe this is, I don't know which wall they're at or which space in the wall they're at. Lucian and Feyre are woken up by Riorson. They get up, they get out. All the guards are staring off into one direction. Feyre and Lucian turn and look into the trees, and it's the bodies of the children just hanging.
Oh, yeah, I missed the end.
Yeah, and she's trying to determine what to do. What is the purpose behind it? Lucian was talking, I think, about they're doing it to just bother you, which is really messed up.
Which is where she brought this up to Lucian before.
Yeah.
She was like, hey, he's trying to get under your skin. She brings this up to Lucian a few times, where she's like, don't let Riorson do this. He's just doing shit to fuck with you.
Yes. So that's what it ends on. I don't think it even ended on what they plan on doing about it. I think she was going to ignore it. Ignore that happened. I'm not positive. I don't know if it's just she'll just keep that information in her back pocket, but as of right now, we're moving on.
What I'm really hoping instead would happen is Feyre just destroys the twins, but it's going to get real fucked up.
I was going to say, there's a lot of consequences to that.
Well, I was thinking, fuck them consequences, homie. Like at a certain point, I just hate the idea that there's this savior lady who needs to be this person when it could be like, Lucian's like, oh, I accidentally beheaded one of the twins. Oops. You know what I mean? There could just be that.
Yeah.
And the King of Highburn needs these people too.
Well, yeah, he needs them for, I'm assuming they're Damati skills.
Oh, I was thinking he needs the Spring Court people.
Oh, yes.
Because he had the cauldron before, right? That's how the wall was erected. Him just having the cauldron is not enough for him to win this war.
No.
And he lost the war last time, basically. They kind of did like a Vietnam thing, where it wasn't really like a winner and a loser. It was like everybody got real tired of fighting, and eventually they're like, so what do you say we just call it a day and quit?
That seems to be the case because everyone signed the treaty and they were just kind of like, let's move on from this. And the king of Highburn was upset and regretted signing it. And here we are now.
It's a little bit of like a Hitler-y type situation too, right?
Yeah.
Where he's a genocidal maniac, but also it's kind of impressive for the fact of he was able to take on the rest of the world with his forces.
And I'm feel so silly that I'm not understanding his motive.
He wants to rule the whole continent.
That's not enough motive, I guess.
Make them all Fey. I think he hates humans.
Oh.
And I think he wants power. That's where I'm kind of drawing the whole Hitler parallel here, is Hitler's whole goal was obviously to more or less rule the world, but he wanted to cleanse the world of the scourge that is these non-Aryan peoples, which is really fucked up.
Yeah.
But I think it's sort of a similar thing that he's got going on with the Fae here, where he's like, hey, these humans are just less evolved monkey people. Fuck them. We're going to turn the ones Fae that we want to keep. The rest of them can be gone. And then I will be your overreaching, most powerful person who helps guide you. Maybe the King of Highburn is Ronald Reagan, you know.
Why are we trying to find parallels here?
Because this is what the world is based off of, right? All of these stories.
Little magical world.
I think he's the Ronald Reagan saying, Mr. Gorbachev, take down this wall. You know, we have East and West Frithia.
Stop.
No.
What are you expecting to happen in these next few chapters?
Well, if it's anything like the parallels I have been.
No.
The King of Highburn is going to flee to Argentina and feign suicide. No?
No.
It'd be a little funny.
That would be so messed up.
It would be, but, you know, art imitates life, or whatever they say. I'm expecting Feyre to be very upset, and the kid's hanging's going to kind of crack some of her facade, I hope. If it doesn't, she's actually a monster also.
Yeah. I thought she was going to be in the spring court a lot longer than you. Do you think she's going to be there by the end of chapter 14, still in spring court?
She potentially may still be in spring court, but it won't be the same operation, if that makes sense. The ball's rolling down the hill. Is that making any sense to you?
No.
Okay, let me try this again. I think if she's still in the spring court for the next 7 chapters, the spring court as it operates now is not the spring court she will still be in. Things are going to happen fast. We've got this snowball and it started rolling down the hill, but it's fixing to start really growing. That's my version of what's going to happen here.
Okay. So I have no clue what I'm expecting. I'm lost in some ways of what's happening next. Like, I don't know what's coming next.
I'll tell you what I'm really enjoying, though. Jurian is just Rhysand's personality slightly tweaked.
Yeah.
They have the exact same mannerisms in the way that they're described. Everything is sort of nonchalant in the way that they move. And then you have Feyre, who is also being nonchalant.
You're right, because even when she asks him, what's your plan? Especially given that he's with Highburn, now that she knows you were close to Rhysand, you fought against the Fae, you fought for getting this wall, you did all these things, all of these sacrifices, what are you doing now? And he was just calm, cool, collected of, I have my own plans. It reminded me when she first met Rhysand at Calamai, and she's like, well, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm free to roam where I please.
I do what the fuck I want.
Yeah.
And that's what makes me think Jurian may not remain a bad guy.
Yeah, like his own plans.
Yeah, I think he may double-cross the King of Highburn, possibly. And to be honest, I think that's how he's going to die, for real. Is I think he's going to believe he has a plan where he's like, fuck that guy, I'm taking him out. And then the King of Hiburn's like, oh, that's cute. And then just eliminates him. And then everybody's like, oh, fuck, we need to rework our plan. Like, I think that's what's going to happen. I am most excited to hear more about Feyre in this book so far, because she is a character that I find so fucking interesting now.
She is way more badass.
Yeah, and I feel like it's in no way justified, and I'm slowly learning that it doesn't need to be.
No.
Yeah, okay, I know it's basic knowledge for you, but for me, I'm coming to it.
We just accept Feyre for who she is.
in this exact moment, right? Like, that's the thing that gets me, because I keep putting it through the filter of, oh, what would Feyre do? Book 1, book 2. Though that's not the same character.
Yeah.
So she is growing. I think this just happened so fast for me. I'm adjusting to it strangely. It's taken me a minute.
I think maybe why I'm adjusting well to it is because she's behaving in the way that I have always wanted her to behave.
You think Cassian's training Nesta right now?
That would be so cool.
Wouldn't it be? And then Nesta, because she took so much of a cauldron's power, is actually a super duper Billy badass. Like, blows Feyre out of the water. I think that would be so cool.
That would be, but it's not going to happen.
It could. And Nesta could be not just super powerful, but she is smarter. So she could, like, develop these skills faster. Like, next time she sees Nesta, Nesta's like, bitch, you don't even know. Me and Amren are homies. And they're just mean girling their way through it.
Oh.
No, not being mean to everybody necessarily. Just kind of like the mean girly sort of, where it's like, how would I describe this? Just boss bitching their way through everything. That's how I'm taking it. Like,
I hope we get to learn more about the sisters in the next few chapters. And if not, it'll be fine.
kind of hope Amren fucks Nesta.
What? No.
That's the scene I want to hear.
Get out of here.
Chapter 14. Give it to me.
I love you.
I love you.
You're my bestie.
You're my bestie. It was a great time. We had fun. Now get out and go live your life.
No, wait. No. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate and love you all. Please follow us here, TikTok or Instagram at Shadow Daddies Podcast.
And then go live your life.
Bye.
Bye. Get out. We're done. This was Daggers and Shadow Daddies. Now it's my time. Toodaloo. It was fun for us. I hope it was fun for you. But that's all we've got. Goodbye. Come back in a few days. We love you.